All right, we're going to get going. Hello and welcome to the Alpha Software Demo and Q&A webcast. I'm Dave McCormick, VP of Product Management here at Alpha Software, and I am very pleased to be joined by developer Lee Vasic. Lee, you've seen on prior webinars, he's an Alpha expert who, some of the things that Lee has done in the past are really amazing because typically when you build something and it's working, right? Why would you go and fix it? Lee is a person who will go back and say, you know what, I think there's a better way. I'm going to go refactor this. So Lee thinks about software in a way that a lot of us simply don't, and it's really fascinating. So today, Lee is going to show you a couple of techniques that he has used. We're also here, of course, to answer your questions. You could type those questions into the questions box at the GoToWebinar control panel, or you can send them to guides, GUIDES, at alphasoftware.com. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Hello, Lee, are you there?
Hello, yes, I am.
Excellent. I'm going to go ahead and make you the presenter, and you're
Okay.
going to see a dialog box asking to share your screen.
All right, so there's my screen. You can see
There
it
it is,
okay?
and I am seeing Alpha Anywhere.
All right, so the first thing I'll do is I'll just run the component and then we'll look at it and then we'll go back and dissect it a little bit. The idea for this component is actually came from a couple of different places at once. And one of the things I want to do is I have all my home movies and videos up on Vimeo, and I wanted to see if I can use an interface to get it. Well, so then someone else was asking about it for YouTube and stuff. So I built this little interface for YouTube. So this is a list box. And as you can see, we can go through the videos here and click on them, and you can see that it shows you which one it is up top, right? And if you click on it, then it goes right out to YouTube and it will just show the video. And so let me move this guy out of the way just a little bit. If I come over here, I could scroll at the bottom, see all the different videos, and again, click on them, watch them. You can see it's pretty quick. And then if you click off of it, it goes back here. Now, the other thing that's interesting about this list box is you can see I have all the titles down here and the names and stuff. So if I right click down here, it gives me this screen, which is not modal. It's a modal list screen, which means I can move it around and I can pick things. But if I come over here and I say, let me look at the genre, and I say, let me see Shakespeare genre, you'll see I have 3 different versions of Shakespeare in there. You'll notice here on the drop down too, it shows me how many I'm going to have because I know already how many there are, right, in the list. So it will tell you there's 3 Westerns and there's 5 what I call true stories, and then there's just different things you could do. And then you could, exit it like that. If you wanted to go to by actor, you could do that. Maybe I haven't finished that one yet. Let's look at this one. If I go by year, I could do it that way. And then of course you could sort too. So I could say descending or ascending, and you can see how that sorts down there. So anyway, you could have a pretty large database here with this piece that I built in. And you can see here all the different things. So if I click on here and again, click on here. So this screen stays there. Actually, I don't know why that didn't show up. So let me clear that. And let's say, for example, genre, Westerns. Click on Yellowstone. And you can see that now when I click away from it, you'll notice the screen's still there. So you could keep that screen there. You could clear it and it shows everything. If I clear it this way, it shows everything. So anyway, all of this is in the list control. I don't think there's really not a lot of hand coding, if any. But let me show you what the table looks like. So here's the table. And the first thing you'll notice about this table, it is a multi-tenant table. So you can see I have a company ID and I have the number for the company in there. So it depends on what company's coming in or who the user is, You'll see here that it has the URL for the pictures. And I'll show you this guy here. So these guys here are actually pulling from YouTube the still frame from the video, and they don't look really good, so I'm gonna have to play with that a little bit to see if I can improve the quality. But you can see anyway, it's a very simple table. That's all that's in the table, and everything's just kind of pointing over to YouTube. And in this case also, these images are all coming off of an S3 bucket that I have. So that's where the images are coming from. So if we go back and look at that for a second, you can see it's coming off of Amazon S3 bucket. So anyway, that's the idea. So now if I come out here and we go to server side, so right here I'm going to change the tenant ID or the company ID to be 1. And now when we run it, we'll get a whole new set of videos that we could look at. Now I have a test page out there on YouTube called VBS, Vasic Business Solutions. And so on this iteration, I wanted to look and see what it would look like if I just use that still image from my YouTube video, but it doesn't look very good. So like I said, I got to fix that. But if you click on that, you'll see it looks really good once the video starts. And so then that kind of shows you what this looks like for this company. And you can use YouTube, you can, like Vimeo. The reason I started using Vimeo way back when is because YouTube didn't have HD back then, but Vimeo did. But now they all do. So it just depends on what you like. I like Vimeo because I think the security is a little bit better, and you could have it private so no one else could see it but you. And I'm sure you can do that on YouTube now, but at one point I couldn't really do it like I wanted. So anyway, you can see how simple that is. And like I always say, I mean, I always try to write everything to be multi-tenant just at the start because it's so much easier than to have to go back and, rekey everything to be multi-tenant. And it's just a simple multi-tenant structure here. So let's go look at that for a minute now that we've looked at it. So the first thing is I have a container, a panel card called list, and then I have the image here in the that I'm going to hook in. That's the big image you see up top. And then you see I put this container around it. And basically what I'm saying, when you click on this container, I want you to open the video player, and then I want you to play the video. And I have all these as JavaScript actions. And so if we go over here and we can look at the action, we could say play vid, and we can look at it and see what it does. So you can see here, it's just a JavaScript action. So there's no custom coding at all. And then the other one was I think open video player. And then you can see here what it does. It's going to just open the container where the video player is. And so if we get out of here, you can see here's the container where the video player is. So that's all I'm doing is going to open that up. That's the window. And if we look here at window properties, you can see where I'm saying just make it a drop down from the top and then close it when the user clicks on the background. And so that works out really nice. And then if we go look at the actual list control, you'll see what we're doing here. And this one is actually called freeform type horizontal because I want them to go across the bottom. And so if you look here, we do have a detail view turned on, and we do have it mapped to the big image. So there's your vid image URL mapped to that big image. So that's why every time I click on it, that updates. And if we go look at that over here, you'll see down here how, we have it sitting here, and then in the list control. So this is probably the most little bit of coding I did in this thing. And you can see what I did here. So this is the line that's lime, and that's the title and the description. And then underneath that is the image. And you can see how I did this image here, and I styled it a little bit, and I said make it 155 pixels, and then break it a couple times as we go, line break it. So you can see it's pretty simple, right? So there's a span, there's a style here, and then the video title, the video description, and then the picture down below. And then when I click on the picture, let's see if I don't even need to do on that. And then it's gonna here, if I right click, it's gonna show me open my filter screen. And then on select, this is what it's gonna do. It's gonna take the video ID and it's going to link that into the player so that it knows what to play. And then down here we have the filter screen. Well, and that's the other thing I want to show you. So this is a new feature that someone added just recently. It's a fantastic feature if you haven't used it yet, named query definition. So if we come down here, we now have different things that we can build, different queries, and this is on top of whatever your base filter might be. So if you already have a filter up here, which I do, right? My filter says company ID by company ID. So that's my base filter. That will never change. The user can't change that. But then if I come down here, I can apply filters on top of it. And the filters can be as complex as you want or as simple as you want. So you can see here, it's very simple. I'm just saying, go by the year. And then here, when it says all, I'm saying, show me all the titles where the video title is not equal to blank. Well, the other thing too is, but within the company ID. So the company ID is this sits on top of that. So that you don't have to worry about that once you get here. And then here we're going to go by genre. And then down here, the actor. So you can see just all the different ones we have here. And then by title, now here's the sorting, all ascending or all descending kind of a thing. And then you can also do the sorting within it. Let me see, do I still have that one? There's one that you can do the sorting within it, but let's see if I have it. Oh, it might be on a different one. So anyway, so that's what you do there. And here, I said I just want to put it in a div, right? So that's where I want it to be radio buttons, but then I don't use this actually. So I don't even, let's see, is there a div ID name? I don't even sure I have a div out there. So, but anyway, if I did, I wouldn't show it if I did, but I don't think, I think it works without even having the div out there. So now the question is, well, how does it work? So I open this window and I go and I say, I want to search by title. And so if we go here on the change, so this is all it takes to search the video list by title is just calling that named query string. So right here, I'm just saying, okay, the query string is based on the list, the vid list, video list, and I want to do it by title. And that's the one I want to search. And so when I right click on the button, it's going to pull up the filter screen. So if we go back here and look, and we look under list events on right click, all that's doing is opening up the filter. So that basically that says open window filter is my shorthand there. And then if we go look at that open window filter, all it's saying is show this container called W_filters or window filters. And if we look at that, for the most part, I don't think there's anything fancy happening here, but let's look. So I defined a button here, and that's where I put the clear and close button down here. So that will be on the window itself. But as you can see, there's nothing else defined, right? And so if you look at that, if you look at the clear, that just says run that filter. So run the one called all, which is really what we're doing. We're clearing it. We're getting everything back. And then this one is automatic. Just close it, and that was built in by Alpha. So you can look at that again now real quick. And so here's you click on it, and all that did was drop that window down, and it just said pull it down. So it's a real nice effect, I think. And then you can see you get everything. And I don't think it makes it bigger if you pull up the size. Well, maybe it does. So now it's even bigger. And that probably will hold. Let's see. Yeah, that holds if we change the size. And now if I right click over here, then I get that window. And now I can search by genre, for example. So when I go say search by genre, then you can see, like let's say Western or comedy. I kind of like this technique. So what you do here is you use a view. so that you can see the number that it's going to pull, which is a real nice technique. And I seem to like to use that more and more lately. I hate it when you pull something and there's nothing there. It's like, okay, well, we should know that there's going to be something there or not, you know. So anyway, and like I was showing you before, if I open this, it'll still work. And because that's a modeless window, if I close the big window, it still stays. And then of course, if I clear it, and then if I sort it. And so let's go look at that for a second, because that's kind of interesting. So if I go over here by title, and I look at the lookup here. So my connection string is my local SQL server. And then the title name is V by title, which means view by title. So now if we go over and look at that, we can come over here, close the tables, look at the views, and V by title right here. So if I say, let's design that view, I don't think that'll do anything really beautify it. So you can see what I'm doing here is here I'm selecting the top 100 and I'm counting it as the total. So then if I run this, you can see that's how I get the, and actually let's do the genre because that's actually a better one. Let's see if I preview. So if I preview it here, you can see how there's 5 what they call true stories, there's 3 westerns, and all I'm doing here is saying select this and give me a count, and then that's what I call to get the count. So it's a really nice technique to be able to do it that way.
It's very cool. So a quick question for you. A question from the audience is, how did you decide between using a panel or a window when you were doing that search thing?
Well, I wanted it to stay on top of it, right? Because I could then see what's happening. If I used a panel, you know, it would slide out, right, and then I wouldn't really see it.
Have the real modeless effects that you were looking for. You wanted to be able to move that window around, and
yeah. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I could keep it there, and then if I'm doing searches, if I say by genre Western, well, then I could still see everything. So that's why I did it that way.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
And yeah, I've done a few fancy panels where just like this piece will move or this piece, but
they'll slide in or over, but they're always covering something, right? Because they are, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So even this, I thought, well, how do I show it then once I click on it? So this has really turned out really well because it just pulls down like that. And
yeah, that is.
And then I have something behind it. Well, we could look at that. It's the, what do they call it? Like the lock that goes behind the window. So then all I did was make it so it wasn't transparent as it usually is, because sometimes it's a little bit transparent, but I didn't want it in that case transparent. And then of course I have the window set up. If I click anywhere over here, because you can see there's no X or anything on the window, because I wanted the window to be as minimized as or minimum as possible, really. So then when you click over here, that goes away. But let's look at that window. So if I come over here and I right click here, and it opens the window filter. And so let's go look and see what that's doing. So that's all that's doing is opening that filter. That's all it's calling. So now, where did we say scroll it from the top? We probably did it right here. So if we go to filters, or actually it's this guy here. So see right here, I called it as a drop down. So, and in this case, this is a modal pop-up, right? And so then I called that as a drop down there. And here's the animation, right? So slide top and then slow. I did it slow there. And then on show, and then on hide, it does something else. It stops the video from playing when you say on hide. So actually, and did I have to write a little bit of CSS to make that work? Interesting. Yep, so anyway, that's that guy. Does anyone else have any questions on this or want to see me show some more detail for this? But for the most part, like I say, it's really just a list control, no really custom coding on it. And then if I scroll, so the one thing I haven't fixed yet, so this right here is actually moving on the list, so it's moving left, but I haven't updated it just a little bit, so it will actually move this along the bottom like that, right? If I click on it, but you can see how some of these movies are. Anyway, that's that guy. So I'll go on to the next thing. Not a lot to show here because there's really hardly any, there's really no custom coding for the most part, right? So let me close this guy down. So here's the same thing here. Let me look at this real quick. It's this guy here, I think. So the whole design here was just to look at the named queries. But I do have something here. So this is how I used to have to do it before someone put those named queries out. I was using the pre-query area here and doing stuff in that area, but don't have to do that anymore. So it's a lot simpler now. Let me see if this guy works. So here's something simple like inactive or all or just active. And you can see here there's 80 active. And if I click all, there's 91 all. And so you can see you can do that. And then on top of that, you still have the ability here. And you notice I did the same thing here where account manager and those kind of things. So if I say owner, it just shows me all the guys that are owners. And now if I wanted to say something like, show me where the owner is within that, and I click with this little in thing, then you can see now it says owner, owner operator, owner and marketing assistant. So then it will do a little bit more detailed of a search. And then of course you could have special searches like this special filter. And you can see what I did on the water or on the help rather, the pop-up, it says city in Berlin, London, and Sao Paulo, order by city and contact title. So if I click that, then that's how it does it, which again is just really nice to do, you know, for your customers that you know they want these 3 filters. They don't have to keep rebuilding them every time. You can just hard code them in there. But so for example, here's the one. So here's the special one. And if we look at it, you can see there's what it is, city in Berlin, London, Sao Paulo, and then it has the order by. So that's pretty cool, right? So there's your special one. So here's the active one. Now this used to be really hard to get this just right, but it's really easy now. So if I click on active, it just says date end is null. Inactive, date end is not null, right? So it's really nice. And then if I say all, I just say, show me everyone that has a customer ID, basically. And then if I do the city, You can see here I used a wildcard character so that I could do it, and same with it within the title. So here I did that same kind of a wildcard character. Well, actually this one I did, but just look at the first 5 characters. So it says owner, comma, you know, third owner of this company. Well, it will get everything because it's just looking for owner, the first 5 letters there. And then when you come over here and look at it, what happens when you're clicking on different things, you can see on the change now it's gonna, here it's gonna actually say do the, so a lot of times what I'll do is I'll put all the code under one button and then I'll just say search that by the button that you click, you know. So if we go look at that button search, you can see what it's doing here. So see how it's the named list query. And here what it's doing, it's saying get whatever you picked off of that status, whether it was active, inactive, or all, and then, you know, run it by these other queries too. So you can then have queries, multiple queries run at once. And so in this way, it's saying run this query, then run this query, then run this query. So it's giving you a few queries to run at once, so you can stack them like that, which is really nice. But to me, this is a fantastic new feature that's hasn't been out that long, and I really like it a lot. And it makes our life so much simpler, because this used to be kind of hard to do, and now it's pretty straightforward. See, let's see which one has the most cities. Mexico does. There you go. So if anyone has questions on that one, but let's go back to this guy and I'll show you something, a couple of cool things that I did here. So this one is basically, I know a couple of young guys that are about my son's age, they're all in their 30s. They've gone to, you know, coding boot camp and stuff. And so I was trying to show them some stuff that is real easy to do in alpha. So here, what I did is I put together Java string functions. So here I have a pre-processed number. So this is, and you'll notice there's no 0.5. Well, what I want to do is what it will look like in accounting. So you'll see there, it puts the 0 there, which is really nice. Or if I want currency, I can change it that way. This one is the boy wore a yellow shirt to the dance. And if I want to replace the word, I could say replace the word. Now it says the boy wore a yellow hat. Or if I want to replace multiple words, now it says the girl wore a green shirt to the dance. And then there's this change case stuff too. So you could see hello world is a new funky kind of camel case. And so if you say, well, I want it all uppercase or all lowercase or all first words or just the first word of the sentence only. So there's some things, if you have dashes and spaces and stuff, you can clean them up like that. If you need this padded, we could say pad left, and you'll notice that one, and pad right, and it does that one, or pad left and right, and you get both of them. And then the big one is if you're still, you know, doing it where you need number to words, you could just say for a check, for example. So you could turn that number into $2,531.50. So that's pretty cool, right? Now this one is a really interesting one because this is, and did everyone notice how that scrolled up from the bottom? So that's
I
kind of a
saw
little
that. Yeah,
feature
very nice.
too. And that's a new feature for that PWA stuff, I think, ultimately, right? Where it's just one big long web page that's static HTML and all that kind of stuff. But so here I want to do some calculations on the date and time. And so here I can come and you'll see I'm going to add 1, and I could either add or subtract it depending, but I'm going to say what to the year. So look at that, it goes to 25. And now if I want to add 5 years to it, I could calculate it to the year, and now it goes to 29. Or I could subtract it and just run the same thing and it subtracts it. So that's kind of cool how you can do that. Or if you wanted to add the quarter, or if you wanted to add a month to something. Oh, I'm still subtracting. Let's add the month again. So you can see that's the next month. If you wanted to add the week, or if you wanted to add a day, so it's the 17th, now it's the 18th, or an hour, so now it's 11:27, now it's 12. So it's real, and these are all alpha functions that I just moved over here. Now I put seconds there, but I'm not showing seconds, so it won't show it, but it's, you know, add a minute or add 3 minutes. So let's say I want to add 5 minutes, and then I say that, and you can see where it goes from 11:27 to 11:32. So it's kind of slick, you know. Now here, sometimes you need elapsed time, so you could say number of days, number of hours, number of minutes, and then you can say all the numbers, that kind of thing. Here you could also say you want to format the date. So here's UK date and then military time, or 2-year digit, or month and name, or month name rather, and then month and day name, Wednesday, January, and then day and time and date, time, and zip code. So this is becoming more important in a lot of stuff I do, because everyone's now, with all of our remote working, everyone's all over the place. So it's like, now when was the meeting? Was that East Coast time, Mountain time? And so it's very easy to figure out what time zone you're in and what time zone someone else is in, and then you make sure you're showing the right time zone. So that's pretty slick. And then of course, this is the JavaScript time zone, which makes you wonder who wrote JavaScript in the first place to give you that, but that's pretty good. And then the other thing that's big is this business days calendar. So if I come over here and click, I want you to show a couple of things. And so you'll notice that I said don't pick the weekends, because it's a business days calendar. So this comes from the banking side. So you never work on the weekends really for the head office stuff. But also you want to know what the holidays are. So you'll notice here, January 1st was a holiday, so that's disabled. And Martin Luther King is a federal holiday now, so that's disabled. So within a year now, you have 11 federal holidays. And so the idea is, as I say, well, we got the documents on this Friday, and then the documents went out on Tuesday. So you'll notice now total calendar days is 5, but total business days is 2. And a lot of times you have a lot of rules like that, where you have to turn documents around within 3 business days is what they'll say. And so and then they'll want you to track them, and they want you to do a graph or a report that shows you, well, how many documents and the days that they were turned around in, So this is a really nice way to do that. And when I was building this, I learned how to really use this little calendar so that it marks it off. For example, look at how February 19th is marked off. So basically, I have to keep track of the 11 federal holidays for the month. And then I have to know what the holiday falls on. So if the holiday falls for banking, for example, if it falls on a Sunday, they move the holiday to Monday. And if it falls on Saturday, they move the holiday to a Friday. So then this handles that as well. I'm not sure we have any holidays like that this year, though. Let's see, is July 4th like that? Nope, July 4th is not like that. So anyway, it would handle that, and it would move it a day or so. So anyway, that's the idea here. And I can show you how I did this business days calendar. So I did not use a database and then have to build the database every year and put the holidays in it. I used to hate that. So I wrote an algorithm, because we know what the rules are on every business holiday. And so all I had to do is write the algorithm to use those business rules, right? So like Thanksgiving is the 4th Thursday, but Memorial Day is like the 5th Monday or something, whatever it is, So, but we'll dig into that for a minute. And then this time card example is really interesting, because there's so many different ways that we want to look at time, and depending on who we are. So for example, 15:30, well, I don't really use military time, but I need to use it in this case because that's how the time card's set up. So I put it here so you can see what the 12-hour time is, right? So if I came down to 1700, that changes to 5 o'clock, 1300. And then now I want to run a JavaScript function that will tell me basically how long that is. And so for the time card display, for the employee, they'd like to see it 1 hour, 45 minutes, but payroll wants to see it as a decimal, so it's 1.75. So you can see how that works. And of course, if I came up here and I could change this here too, and then ran it. So you can see 1 hour, 30 minutes, 1 hour, 15 minutes. I mean, I can change this to say probably 5 minutes too. And then you can see how that changes it. Now, what's interesting is that this is JavaScript, but I wanted to see how the exact same thing worked in XBasic. So if I click here, I get the XBasic equivalent. And so of course, there's always kind of this trade-off in a sense, like when do I use JavaScript? When do I use XBasic? So in this case, I mean, JavaScript would calculate it and then save it, But if you needed to use it in XBasic, it's there too, and we could go look at that too. So then the other thing I wanted to play with was just all the different kinds of things that you could do in JavaScript with other components. And so these are HTML5 gauges, and the cool thing about this one is like this is the heater temperature, and down here is just a text box that I'm incrementing or decrementing by if I click the little button. And you'll notice it's moving this HTML gauge. It
That is
knows.
cool. Yeah.
And so that's probably the hardest part of this was to tie it in. And so then because it's tied in, of course, you can post it to a database. The other thing is what happens if I move this up here? What shouldn't that move it at the bottom? And it does, you'll see as I go around. So that's that, and there's different gauges you could use and stuff. So that's kind of cool, I think. And then just more this way are different things that I had questions about and I wanted just to kind of look at. So this one was what's the best kind of button? How big should they be? So you'll notice if I click here, that's a button. This is a button too. So you'll notice on the button itself that the icon is changing.
Mhm.
And so then I'm going, or I could use this kind of a button. And then how big do I want it to be is kind of what I was doing here. But, I mean, I like this old timey kind of button, but I also like the new kind of button where you could slide this and it will change. So that was just kind of a demo there for that. And then the other thing I want to do is figure out how these cursors would change if I rolled over. And so you can see that, and that's real simple. It's almost so simple it was hard to find because it was so simple. And the same thing happens here. If I click on these guys, you'll see the cursor will change to match the tab, right? And then speaking of colors, I wanted a drop box like this that would show me the color, not just have all these black, regular font. And so if I grab it, you'll see it will actually show the color value here. And I just did that for the demo. You wouldn't normally ever see that. In fact, if you use HTML color names, you never have to worry about the color value. So I've been doing that more and more, just using the HTML color name, and Alpha handles it fine. It goes, oh, you want blue, you want red, it will handle it, no problem. So you don't have to do the conversion to this unless you wanted to. And so then I thought, well, can I add in a little, jQuery color picker? And I can. So if some reason I was going to let the user change colors, they could do it, and then they could see, we could see what color they're picking or whatever. So that works out pretty good. And then the CRUD buttons, and here, it was pretty fancy with the logos and stuff, but the idea is if I click on new, I should get a color coded form. So you can see it saying adding new record. And this is calling the same form. And if I click view now, it's kind of matching the icon. So there's view only. If I click on edit, there's the edit brown, and then this is of course red. Do you want to delete this record, So that was the concept there, is to make it the same form, and the form knows by your action button that you clicked what the CRUD operation is a create, read, update, delete, and then show me a color for it. So just helps the user see it better, more didactic in a sense when they're, and it helps train them as well as they're using the program. They go, oh, I know exactly what this is. So the same idea with error messages. I wanted to go, can I make it real easy to change the error message out, to change the icons out. So there's the error for, and you can see it has a little red sphere on it and it says error. Now this is the same window, but I just changed the color and the style of it, same window. And you can see that, and that's pretty easy, and so that's what I want to do is, this is just an Ajax callback test. Rather than just being a JavaScript window, we go back to the server and grab some information and come back with it, and then just a security test. So anyway, that's kind of interesting there, how that all works. And then here was the idea, well, how much can I change here? So you can see it says button 1, tab 1 and 2, and if I click here, it will change it now. Dynamic text has been changed, button 2, tab 3 and 4. Or I could just reset it and go back. So I just wanted to, again, look at the way and how easy it was to change this kind of stuff. And if I hit blue, it will change everything to blue. Or if I hit green, it changes everything to green. So there's all that. And now if we go back and look at this for a minute, and this is kind of a a monster. So the first thing I want to show you is this business days calculator. So here's the frame for it. And here you'll notice I put this remark here called local functions, so I remember. So this is in local functions, and the reason I do this is because I have this saved up here as a control, right? So load controls from my library. So I have this, and so because I do it this way, it'll just come down this whole piece, and then I don't have to go over here to the local functions. I have them over here.
So
So if
Lee,
I
can I
come down,
interrupt you just for a
sure.
second? So you've inserted some comments here, which is cool. And if you want to show like where it says local functions and date range, can you first of all show how you inserted that? And then I just want to also do a little quick demo about inserting other comments that came from a question we had last week. It just seemed like now would be a perfect time to show that off.
Okay. So yeah, so you come over here and you just click this guy here, and then you can put it here.
Right,
So
and that one, it's that one. Now you
right,
can
and then
also,
the other thing is you can say, shoot, I can't remember what it's called now. Comment indent. Yeah, that's it. So you could actually change that too and say, oh, I just want that to be 3 spaces wide, so it's not way over there when you look at it, you know. So let's see. Whoops. Let's see if what that did. So you see how that moved it closer now,
it sure did.
right? So
The other thing, and someone just demonstrated this to me last week, so I want to show it off real quick, is that if you go into the information for that component, if you click on that information tab over there on the left, um, you will see that you can type in a description and you can type in comments, and those get saved along with the component. So now if you go back to the web projects control panel and you say more,
so I
and
have it
then
out here. See.
there
So
you
here's the
go.
comments.
Perfect. Yep. But if you go over to more, because people are like, how do I make that appear and disappear? This is how you do it. Customize. Yep, you got it. And then for each one of the different types of components that you can have in Alpha Anywhere, you can have a different style heading. And you'll see Lee has set his up in a custom format. You've put in a width of 5, a description, and width of 5 for comments, which is a
Yep.
very neat way of setting it up.
And more, everything's just turning it out to be a UX. You know what
Yeah,
I
I
mean?
know. That's certainly true. Yes. You
So
won't have
that,
to make too many changes after that. Yep.
yeah, and so that was one of the reasons I needed this even more, because it's like I want to search by it. So you can search by it too. So in most of my applications, I mean, I have this really detailed. And sometimes even here, I'll just detail it 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 main menu, 2 security, 3, you know, this console,
That
for
makes a lot of
example.
sense.
And
Yeah.
then I can easily do that. The
Oh,
other
right. You
thing
could sort
is,
them too. Yep.
let me see, I don't know if I have any, but the other thing is you could come here and say show dependencies for this component, which is really nice. And then it shows you what this is calling. So you can see it's calling these 1, 2, 3, 4 UXs. So the job manager is calling those 4 UXs, and those 4 UXs are all just sitting here. So that's a really nice little feature too, I think.
Yeah.
There's also another feature that I started using a little bit more, and let's see if I can find it. Anyway, it's a way to update your style sheet. Shoot, I just did this yesterday too. Let me see. Here it is. Global replacement of component style. Now, when you do this, you'll see, no wonder that I have all these CSS files out there on the server, and no wonder the stuff isn't working well, because look, even I did it in just this little test. So I'm mixing and matching these styles. And really what I want to do is use project style probably for the most, but you could see real easily where some problems might be happening because all your styles are different. So you can just, from here, you can just say, okay, let's just update everything to alpha, or let's update everything to project style right here too. And then of course, if you go to project properties, here's your project style, which is alpha. So it's a real nice way to handle it. And I've seen that happen to me too, where how come it works in the IDE, but it doesn't work once I publish? And it's because there's all these different styles out there, there's kind of a conflict with them, you know. But what's interesting now about this is, so because I can't remember either. So it's like, oh, I put this down here in local functions. And so there's 2 local functions. There's XBasic and JavaScript. So this is the one doing the calculation for the business days, right? And so you'll notice what I'm doing here is I'm just going to loop. I'm going to get the first of the year, whatever year it is, 24, and then I'm going to loop through this guy 365 times. And as I loop through it, I know the rules, the business rules. So here I'm going to say, well, if this is January 1st, then we're going to make that January 1st. If it's the third Monday, we're going to make that MLK. So you can see that the toughest one I think is this guy here. It's the last Monday of the month. And so that was kind of an interesting little challenge to find that. But everything else, like Juneteenth is fixed. Independence Day is fixed. Labor Day is
Thanksgiving
the
is a
first
weird one.
Monday.
Oh no, Thanksgiving is always the 4th. Okay, yeah, you
Yep.
don't have to know how many. Yeah.
Columbus Day is the second Monday. Veterans Day is always the 11th. It's always the fourth Thursday. And then this is always the 25th. So what this is doing is it's looping through and it's building an array. So that's what this is doing here. So holiday data dot push, and it's pushing this information into the array. And then it comes down here, and this is where it does the move. So if it falls on a Sunday, make it Monday. If it falls on a Saturday, make it Friday. So you can see how that does it. Oh, it's on Saturday minus 1 day, that kind of thing. And then this is the date range stuff, because now I have the array and all that, so I can easily grab that information. So then when you pull the calendar up, let's see, is that the calendar? Let's see. Oh, here it is right here. Sorry about that. And then, so here's my date range. And this is the disabled date. So this was an easy one because I'm just saying, right, we're going to just return whatever the JS holidays are. So that's how it gets that. And so, and when I first started doing it, I go, well, this really is doing exactly what you think. It's looking at each day. So it's looking at 365 days, but it's so fast because it's in JavaScript, you don't even notice it. And then here, of course, there's a flag that says just show days of week kind of thing. And then allow a date range. And so what I'm doing there, you saw how I did that date range. I'm using this separator. And then I'm just pulling that out of the date. I think I do it right here. Let's see. Oh, that's a function. Hello. So if I have to go to that function down here. So the function stays here in the frame under the local functions. So you can see here's a little function called get the date range count. So then that's going to show you how many days between whatever I'm doing there. And you can see what I'm doing as I'm splitting it because I'm putting those 2 dots. And so I tried different calendar options, and it could be 2 different boxes or it could just be 1 box. And so we can look at that again real quick just so it makes sense. Whoops, that's this guy here. But see, if I click here, it opens it up and it puts it there. And then if I click on this side of it, it opens it up and puts it, puts it there. So that shows you there's no holidays, so it's just 2 business days. So I, different ways to do it, and a lot of times you see this for airlines or hotels, and so you could do a date bag and a date end if you wanted. You could do it like I did it with 1 text box, and you just split out the code yourself, which is what I did. So that's doing it. So if I wanted to change that first guy again, I could come over here and say, okay, well, let's change it to the 12th. And then if I want to change the second guy, let's change him to the 16th. And you can see that's what it's doing. So it takes this and it splits it on the back side to say start date and end date. And then it does the calculation. It shows your business days. So, but then these other guys here are pretty simple. Like if I say I want to format the number, and then that's all I'm doing here is basically I'm running this action number menu. Let's look and see what that does. And so here's the menu. And so if I click on accounting, this is what it does to set the number. And then if I click on currency, the same thing. So if you'll notice in this one, I'm using this to local string, and it's US, and then it's currency, and that's how that gets set. And that is more or less, that's a standard JavaScript function there. But let's look at some of the ones that are just actually only alpha functions. The date time one, let's see what that goes. So that's actually might call something over here. Let's see. Oh, it's down here. So yeah, so if I wanted to look at the year, so look how I'm sending this to a function called add date time to the year. So now, I don't know if I saw that function. Oh, there it is right at the top. So see, it gets passed in, and then you get that little X is going to say what it is. Is it a year? Is it a month? Is it a minute? And then it's just going to run this little function right here and return it, depending on what I wanted it to be. So you can see here, it's basically saying if it says add, then add it, else it's going to subtract it. And you can see how that works right there pretty easily. And then this is actually the alpha function add time, right? So if we and then this is the alpha function to format. So then I'm passing this in. So I'm saying, so what is it? And then what's the number? So if we came up here to, I think we could find this pretty easily. Here's the add time method. So that's all I did, is I just took it from here, add time method, and you can see how it's doing it. So here you want to add 1 year, you just say it's a year and it's a 1, right? Or if you want to add 1 year, 3 months, and 10 days, you could do it like that. So that's all I did on that little UX, is I just took that information. And the same with the format, the to format it. I looked at this and then thought, well, how can I format it? And this is a really nice way to do it. Because, you know, in pure JavaScript, it's kind of a pain to format it, but Alpha makes it real nice to format, actually.
Very cool.
Any questions out there, Dave?
Question about the mouse pointers. How did that happen? How'd you get that to go? So those were you changed the cursor shape. You said it was so easy.
So simple, it was hard to figure out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know those kind of problems. Yeah.
Yeah. Do I have that? Well, I think that's here. Let's see if I can find it. What? Let's see. There's the time card. Oh, I actually call it embedded object here. So
Okay.
here's another thing that is really nice now. This embedded object works really well because it only opens dynamically. It doesn't just open as soon as because it's in a panel. So I started playing with that a little bit and using that a little bit to see. So it's called trick or tweak is what I'm calling. So if I come out here and I go to here, where I'm calling this, well, let's do an easier one. Come here, and I guess I put it in a class. So if we're looking at the class, then let's go look at that. This one's a little bit trickier, but let's see if we can see it. So in this one, it did take a little bit of a class to do it, but you can see the class is really simple. So all I'm doing is saying, if it's this blue class, then show me the blue, or the finger cursor. If it's green, show me the green. Purple, purple. So see, it's pretty simple.
Cool.
And then you just say cursor, and then you just show the path where that sits.
Very neat.
And then the reason it works is because, see right here, so the button class is there.
On hover. Yep. Got it. And then the last one was back to our video gallery example. Is what would that look like rendered, say, on a tablet or something like that? So,
Well, it is a list control. Let's see. What if we did that? Let's see what
yeah.
would happen. So theoretically, let me close this guy.
Sure.
And change this guy over here to the video, and then let's open this guy up. Let's say it's mobile. I've never done this, so
Yeah, it is
I'm not
very
sure
interesting.
what the results will be, but let's say if it's an iPad, a big iPad, right?
Yeah, that sounds good.
The iPad Pro.
Uh-huh.
So there you go. Yeah, it seems to work. It would be interesting. It'd be interesting
try it on
to
a real
put
one,
it on
but
a real iPad and try it.
yeah. Well, very cool. Excellent. Well, that looks like it for questions. Lee, thank you very much for presenting today. Very much appreciate it. I know a lot of people got a lot out of it today. If anyone there still has further questions, go ahead and send them over to guides, GUIDES, at alphasoftware.com. And until then, we will see you at our next Alpha Software demo and Q&A webcast. Until then, take care. Thanks again. Bye-bye.